It's nice to talk to you, and I know that you used to coach at Tusculum, so I wanted to bring you back a little bit into the area, if you will. Looking forward to, speaking with you and finding out more about the Citadel. I know it was I read the Vice story on you, and congratulations on that. That was a big thing, I know, and I've always had an interest in Vice, as a matter of fact. So yeah.
You're looking more forward to me some of these issues than I
Okay.
am.
Well, I can, they're a decent team, or the Buccaneers. We just got off, by the way, talking with Steve Forbes. So, anyway, yeah.
Great year those guys have had, and I don't believe this year.
And, by the way, we also are archiving this. So if you want to, in fact, what I'm speaking right now is actually going out on the Facebook, but I'll share it with the SIDs, and you can make the most of that as well. So there you go. Well, a lot of fans of basketball around here are going to be familiar with Dugar Baucom because a little more than a decade ago, he was the head coach of the Tusculum Pioneers. He actually had left law enforcement, became an assistant coach in the SoCon, got the Tusculum job, went there, VMI, and now at the Citadel, where he is trying to do the impossible, which would be eventually take the Bulldogs to the NCAA tournament. Despite the presence of, let's say, Norm Sloan back in the day coaching the Citadel Bulldogs, the Bulldogs have never been to the NCAA tournament. And Dugar Baucom, it's nice to talk to you here and make your acquaintance on Tri-City Sports Now. But I wanted to ask you, how much when you're recruiting does that ever come up? You're coming to a place where they've never been to the NCAAs before. That can't be good for recruiting. How do you try to overcome it?
Well, we just tell them we want them to be part of the challenge. That's the reason I took the job, because it's kind of unique to get to go into something that's never been done before. So I look at it as an opportunity more so than a detriment. And when we tell kids, come here and, we're a one big league in the SoCon. And if you're good for 3 days, possibly 4 days, anything's possible. That's kind of our selling pitch to the kids, and that's what we tell our the kids that we have now. And you just got to be good 3 days in March.
Well, Dugar Baucom, I got to tell you, you mentioned that the SoCon is a one-bid league. Still, I've followed the league for many years. There have been a lot of times, Davidson on numerous years, Appalachian State maybe 10 years ago, where I said, you know what? That this league should have received a second bid, and it didn't. So let me ask, how close do you think the SoCon could be to ever becoming a two-bid league?
Probably. I was on staff at Davidson, maybe the best Southern Conference team ever. We went 14-0 into SoCon. Our margin of victory was like 20 points a game, and we got upset. We won 19 games in a row and got upset in the conference tournament championship against Western Carolina. That would have been 95-96.
That was the year of Frankie King. And I remember watching him at ETSU. And in fact, that year, Western Carolina, as a 16 seed, nearly defeated the Purdue Boilermakers in the first round of the tournament. I think it was King's shot to win the game, just went off the back of the rim. I can still see it. And to me, that did say, hey, this is a two-bid league. Like I said, if Western can do that against the number 1 seed, what could Davidson have done against the 4 seed? It's easy thinking, but that goes in mind. One of the things where I think maybe there could be a chance in the future, and maybe it's wishful thinking on my part, but I just like SoCon basketball, is the style you are playing at Citadel, at least to begin the year, where it's that fast tempo, you're going to control the tempo, try to play those computer games, shoot a lot of threes. My question for you, though, is I noticed that since Preston Parks left the team, you've slowed down the tempo a little bit, not putting up as many shots. Why?
Yeah, well, we lost 22 points out of our lineup. That's what Preston averaged last year. So just because of attrition, losing our top scorer has brought our points down a little bit. And we're trying to be a little more strategic when we run. And playing a lot more zone than we've ever played, so that slows the tempo down a little bit. We're not trapping and it's quite as aggressive defensively as we've been in the past. But, that was kind of due to that loss and some personnel and things like that. But we've still been very competitive in some games. We've lost a lot of close conference games, and a stop here or a made shot there could have had a different outcome. But we don't have a senior on the team. We're very, very young. We have 6 freshmen, and it's just been a learning year for us, kind of a process. So hopefully next year we'll be a little more experienced and we'll get that tempo back up where we want it to be.
We're talking to Dugar Baucom, the former Tusculum coach turned Citadel coach. Coach, what are your memories of Tusculum? What's your most vivid memory of coaching the Pioneers?
Well, I will tell you this. That was 2 of my favorite years of head coaching that I've ever had. Out of my 15 years, those were 2 of my favorite. We won a regular season championship my first year and won a tournament championship my second year. And my last game I ever coached there, we lost to the number 1 team in the country, Bowie State, on a 3 at the buzzer in overtime, 91-88. And that's, it's still a good memory because my kids played so hard and so good, and we hung right there with the top team in the country. We just needed to make one more shot or get one more stop, and it could have been a different outcome. But my 2 years there were wonderful. I love East Tennessee. I love living in Greenville. Still have great friends there, and Tusculum was a great school.
Jalen Adams is the Science Hill quarterback. I know if you've been around here, you know what Science Hill High School is. He's going to go to the Citadel, and you mentioned you loved East Tennessee. What do you think of Upper East Tennessee basketball, Tri-Cities basketball, maybe a little in Southwest Virginia? We've never had an NBA player here, and in fact, it seems like it's been a long time. It has been a long time since a Science Hill player played at ETSU on the hardwood. So what about the talent in the Tri-Cities? Is it someplace that you'd like to look to develop more Citadel Bulldogs in the future?
We're definitely always looking. That's a little out of our region now, but if we ever get a call on a player up that way, we would certainly go investigate. When I was at Tusculum, there was a lot of good players up in that Kingsport, Johnson City, Science Hill. They were good, traditionally, year after year. At Kingsport, like you say, a little bit of Southwest Virginia, Gate City over in that area, there was some really good players all the way back over to Knoxville, but we haven't been able to tap into that much since we've been down here, but certainly always in the future we would look. If there's a player up there that wants to come down here and get a great education and live the disciplined life of a military school, we certainly take him.
How do you, is that a hindrance, the disciplined life of a military school? I mean, we hear of the Lords of Discipline of the Citadel, those old stories and such. I've talked to Citadel grads who say, on the Friday marches when you're not even allowed to scratch a mosquito bite, I've been told, well, think about it. If you're in the jungles of battle and, you scratching a mosquito bite, if the enemy is around there, that could cost you your life. Have you ever thought about that? And to be honest with you, I hadn't, but I do. It is quite disciplined. Being a plebe isn't a lot of fun. How do you overcome that to bring in talent?
Well, we, as you say, most high school kids aren't dying to go to a military school, to wear a uniform, to live in barracks, to march those Friday parades like you're talking about, get up every morning and have formation. But we sell it as it's a 4-year decision. It'll be very, very tough, but it'll set you up for the next 40. So that's what we sell. It's like going into being part of a huge fraternity of very, very successful people. So you'll come here and live this structured life for 4 years. The long-term benefits far outweigh, those 4 years. But hey, you're in Charleston, South Carolina too, one of the best cities in the world. So it's not all bad. Kids can get on campus. They can visit downtown. They're in a beautiful port city. The climate's amazing. So, there's a lot of positives to it also.
Years ago, I actually did a story in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, Dugar Baucom, about a center that had played from Pittsburgh who played at the Citadel. And for the life of me, I cannot remember his name all of a sudden, but he wanted to come down because he wanted to play in the South. That was the appeal, and the Citadel gave him that opportunity. As I said, we're talking to Dugar Baucom, head coach of the Citadel Bulldogs. The last time you played ETSU, you took them right to the end, had a last-second buzzer beater shot went in. You would have beaten the Buccaneers, instead losing 73-71 in a game I don't think a whole lot of people thought was going to be that close. Now, two things I took from it. ETSU shot 2 of 23 from beyond the arc in that game. You mentioned that you like to play a lot of zone. That kind of surprises me because you'd think that, well, that would actually mean that open three-point shots, open long-range jumpers or so. So how do you use the zone to combat the three-point shot, which one must do in modern-day basketball?
Yeah, well, we try to extend a little bit, make them shoot over a hand. We played pretty well that night, but I don't, ETSU certainly didn't shoot as capable as they are and what their averages they have done throughout the year. So, that certainly helped us keep it close. And like you said, we had a 3 go in and out at the buzzer. And, it was just one of those nights for ETSU, I think. They missed a lot of shots. I think we had something to do with some of them, but I was certainly pleased with how hard we played and how we hung in there with them and actually had the lead late and had a couple miscues at the end. But what Steve's done there is pretty amazing. They've been the class of the league the entire conference season. I mean, even pre-conference when they took Xavier to the wire. They've been a great representative of the SoCon this year, and they're a totally different team when they get to play in Johnson City. They have that place rocking in there, so I know tomorrow night will be a difficult task.
Well, the thing, though, goes with me. I would almost think that a military academy might be better suited to play on the road. I mean, here, you've been through that plebe structure. I mean, I can't imagine, they're going to be yelling at you when you're trying to shoot free throws. You got to be able to handle that, and I think a Citadel Bulldog would be able to handle that better than most. Could this actually work to your advantage?
Well, we like playing in front of fun crowds that really get into it. I'd rather play in an arena full of energy, even if they're against you, than playing somewhere dead. And every time I've been to ETSU and played in their refurbished arena there, it's been a great crowd. And unfortunately, I've had to play against some really good ETSU teams there. So, I think they have a role in there. And he's had really good players. He's got a lot of experience, really good seniors, and he's just done a phenomenal job. They're no fun to play against because they'll get after you defensively, and then they're so athletic and very, very talented offensively. So I just, when you go there, it's kind of like going to the dentist. It's something you have to do, but you don't want to do.
Well, I also want to ask you this. You committed 22 fouls against ETSU in that game back in Charleston, and since then, ETSU has not had a game where they had endured the opponent had fouled them as much. Now, against UNCG last week, who ended the Buccaneers' 16-game winning streak, they fouled the Bucs 21 times, and I kind of saw maybe, that aggressiveness, that we're not afraid to use our 5 fouls. That might be a strategy that works well against ETSU. So let me ask you, are you looking to have tomorrow's game decided on the free throw line?
Well, I don't know that it'll come down to that. I hope the game's that close where it could go down some free throws here or there, but they just got so many weapons. I mean, we just got to do a good job defending them, making them shoot over a hand, and then hopefully run them to one shot, and not let them just pound us on the boards. I was really surprised by the Greensboro score last Monday. I thought, it was a 2-point game at the half, and I just thought ETSU didn't have their best second half, probably the worst second half of the year. And Greensboro's very good. We played them last Thursday also. They're very, very good, but, ETSU just had one of those nights where they couldn't go into Ocean.
Well, I want to ask you this final question here. I know we mentioned earlier how because Parks isn't on the team anymore, you've slowed down the tempo, maybe going to that more aggressive hack an opponent style for the season. But next year, are you looking to go more into that put up the three as fast as you can type of style that has often worked very well for undermanned teams, setting their own tempo, a fun style of basketball to watch? Are you looking to go more to that in 2018, 2019?
Yes, sir, I hope to. That's certainly more fits my style, my personality a lot more. And, we recruited to it somewhat, but this year, just because of some things, like I say, the attrition, we had to change up a little bit. But, I'm a lot more comfortable pressing, full court, really pushing the tempo offensively, shooting a lot of threes because we're not that big. So kind of neutralize post play by shooting it well, even though we have a very good post player this year. Same as Dowie, he's had an awesome year for us. So hopefully keep getting the ball into him and we keep playing well. But next year I think we'll probably be a little more high scoring than we are this year.
He's Dugar Baucom. He's going to be back in town, or shall I say back in the region. I guess your town used to be Greenville. He'll be back at Johnson City coaching the Citadel Bulldogs, which is a team, you can say this, you've got a young team, you mentioned no seniors, but they're a team nobody wants to play. We'll just put it that way. And so he's trying to do the impossible, as I said. I don't know if it is impossible, taking Citadel to the NCAAs, but the more success the Citadel has, the more success the SoCon has, and then the more interesting the SoCon gets to be. 2 bids in the future, who knows? Tri-City Sports Now. Thank you so much, Coach Baucom, for being with us. We hope it's not the last. I wish you good luck as well, and we'll come back with a final thought after this.
Thanks so much.
Oh, well, thank you.